Hi kids, it's Miss Seeger again. I'm going to start reading you some chapter books because you're growing up, and if we were in the classroom I would start reading these Magic Treehouse books to you. Okay? So this one is called The Magic Treehouse. It's the very first book, Dinosaurs Before Dark. Then that's like an advertisement page for some of the next books. And that's some of the books she makes. That's like the title page. Magic Treehouse, Dinosaurs Before Dark. Copyright page. That's a dedication page. She's dedicated it to somebody called Linda and Mallory. It says, for Linda and Mallory, who took the trip with me. And we're only going to read chapter 1. I'm going to read a chapter every day, so we'll be done in 10 days. So here we see a boy and a girl walking, and it looks like they can go walking in the woods. We can't go walking in the woods, but they live somewhere where there's lots of trees and there's a path in the woods. Okay? Chapter 1, Into the Woods. Try to read along with me looking at the computer screen. Help! A monster! Said Annie. Yeah, sure, said Jack. A real monster in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. Run, Jack, said Annie. She ran up the road. Oh, brother, thought Jack. This was what he got for spending time with his 7-year-old sister. Annie loved pretend stuff, but Jack was 8.5, and he liked real things. Watch out, Jack! The monster's coming, said Annie. Jack didn't say anything. Come on, Jack. Come on, Jack, I'll race you, said Annie. No thanks, said Jack. Annie raced alone into the woods. Jack looked at the sky. The sun was about to set. Come on, Annie, it's time to go home, yelled Jack. But Annie didn't answer. Jack waited. Annie, he called again. Jack, Jack! Annie shouted. Come here, quick! Jack groaned. Oh, this better be good, he said. Jack left the road and headed into the woods. The trees were lit with a golden late afternoon light. Over here, called Annie. Annie was standing under a tall oak tree. Look, she said. She pointed at a rope ladder. It was hanging down from high in the tree. Wow, Jack whispered. At the top of the tree was a treehouse, tucked between 2 branches. That must be the highest treehouse in the world, said Annie. Who built it? Asked Jack. I've never seen it before. I don't know, but I'm going up, said Annie. No, we don't know who it belongs to, said Jack. Just for a teeny minute, said Annie. She started up the ladder. Annie, come back, said Jack. But Annie kept climbing. She climbed all the way up to the tallest branches. That's a pretty tall treehouse. I would not climb that ladder. I kind of agree with Jack. Jack sighed. Annie, it's almost dark. We have to go home. Annie disappeared inside the treehouse. Annie! Jack called. Jack, wait a moment. He was about to call again when... Oh, Jack waited a moment. He was about to call again when Annie poked her head out of the treehouse window. Books! Annie shouted. What? Jack said. It's filled with books, said Annie. Oh, man, Jack thought. He loved books. Jack pushed his glasses into place. He gripped the sides of the rope ladder and started up. Oh, chapter 2 already. I don't know if we'll get through chapter 2, because my phone is definitely going to cut off at 10 minutes. Chapter 2, The Monster. Jack crawled into the treehouse. Wow, he said. The treehouse was filled with books. Books were everywhere. Very old books with dusty covers, and new books with shiny bright covers. "Look," said Annie, "you can see far away." She was peering out the treehouse window. Jack looked out the window with her. Below her were the tops of the other trees. In the distance, he could see the Frog Creek Library and the elementary school and the park. Annie pointed in the other direction. "There's our house," she said. Annie was right. Jack could see their white wooden house with its green porch. In the yard next door was their neighbor's black dog, Henry. He looked very tiny. "Hi, Henry," shouted Annie. "Shush, you're not supposed to be up here," said Jack. Jack glanced around the treehouse again. He noticed that the bookmarks were sticking out of many of the books. "I wonder who owns all these books," he said. "I like this one," said Annie, and she picked up a book with a castle on the cover. "Here's a book about Pennsylvania," said Jack. He turned to the page with the bookmark. "Hey, here's a picture of Frog Creek," said Jack. "It's a picture of these woods." "Oh, here's a book for you," said Annie, and she held up a book about dinosaurs. A blue silk bookmark was sticking out of it. "Let me see," said Jack. He set his backpack down on the floor and grabbed the book from Annie. "Okay, you look at that one, and I'll look at the one about castles," said Annie. "No, we'd better not," said Jack. "We don't know who these books belong to." But even as he said this, Jack was opening the dinosaur book to the place where the bookmark was. He couldn't help himself. Jack turned to a picture of an ancient flying reptile. He recognized it as a pteranodon. He touched the huge bat-like wings in the picture. "Wow," whispered Jack. "I wish we could go to the time of the pteranodons." Jack studied the picture of the odd-looking creature soaring through the sky. "Ah!" screamed Annie. "What?" said Jack. "A monster!" Annie cried. She pointed out the treehouse window. "Stop pretending," said Jack. "No, really," said Annie. Jack looked out the window. A giant creature was gliding above the treetops. It had a long, weird crest on the back of its head and a skinny beak and huge bat-like wings. It was a real live pteranodon. The creature swooped through the sky. It looked like a glider plane. It was coming straight toward the treehouse. "Get down!" cried Annie. Jack and Annie crouched on the floor. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. And tomorrow we're going to read chapter 3. But what we want to remember is we have met two kids. There's Annie up in the treehouse and Jack down there. So you have two characters, Jack and Annie. They live in the state of Pennsylvania, and their town is called the Frog Creek Woods. They live in a small town called Frog Creek Woods, and they've found a treehouse full of books, and it looks like some magic is going on. And so we will read chapter 3 tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow, kids.